look at the coffee mug on your desk right now.
Right.
Like, really look at it.
Or, that generic wall art you have hanging in your office.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there is a very good chance it says something incredibly cliche. Something like that famous instruction from the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius.
Right, the classic, give yourself a gift, the present moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
That exact one. And, okay, let's unpack this. Because we treat that phrase like, I don't know, a faded motivational poster hanging in a dentist's office.
We completely gloss over it.
We do. We just nod at the wisdom, maybe take a sip of our coffee, and then we go right back to looking at our phones, mentally living somewhere else entirely.
Totally. It's almost a reflex at this point.
Right. But our mission for this deep dive today is to ask a much harder question. What if ignoring the present moment isn't just a harmless bad habit? What if it's like actively destroying your untapped potential?
Which is a question that completely shifts the stakes of the conversation, honestly, because the sources we are diving into today, and I mean, they span everything from ancient philosophy and modern psychiatry to literature and high-stakes sports wisdom. They strip away all those soft, spa-day connotations of mindfulness.
Yeah, it's not about taking deep breaths on a yoga mat.
Not at all. They point to a terrifying biological reality. Avoiding the moment doesn't just pause your life, it actively corrupts it.
Why?
Yeah, we are looking at the severe, tangible consequences of the unlived life. And more importantly, how you can synthesize these brilliant insights to reclaim that trapped potential, without feeling completely paralyzed by the weight of it.
Because if you think about it, if we're constantly mentally skipping ahead to Friday or endlessly replaying a conversation that happened like 5 years ago.
Right, the shower arguments we all have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That unlived potential in the present doesn't just vanish into thin air. It has to go somewhere.
It absolutely does. And the author, Stephen Pressfield, provides a remarkably sobering framework for this exact mechanism. He argues that your unlived potential accumulates.
Like physically.
Yes, it gathers inside you into what he calls a body of work and potential. And he doesn't mean this is just some poetic metaphor. It is a literal biological and spiritual urgency.
That sounds intense.
It is. This unborn entity demands to be brought into physical existence. It operates almost like a biological clock-ticking innate human drive to live out a specific purpose. And it actively aches and agitates the longer it sits dormant in the dark.
Okay, so what does this all mean in real life? Like, is this just a poetic way of saying you'll feel sad and unfulfilled? Or is it more tangible than that?
What's fascinating here is that he means it literally.
Right.
The psychological mechanism behind that souring is wild. The energy of suppressed creativity simply cannot be destroyed.
It has to find a way out.
Exactly. If you deny it a constructive conscious outlet, it diverts into the darker unconscious channels of your psyche.
Oh, wow. So it actually turns against you.
It does. Pressfield points out that this suppressed energy is the root cause of incredibly destructive symptoms. It produces chronic depression, free-floating anxiety, unexplained anger.
Really? Just from not doing the thing you're supposed to do?
Yeah. It manifests physically in drug abuse, alcoholism, severe weight fluctuations, even interpersonal abuse. The energy always finds an outlet, and it is rarely pretty. If it isn't channeled into the work you are uniquely meant to do, it morphs into these familiar, devastating maladies of contemporary life.
That entirely reframes the concept of a midlife crisis for me. Or even just that familiar Sunday night dread.
The Sunday scaries, absolutely.
We aren't just missing out on a fun hobby. We are actively poisoning our own well by suppressing what we're meant to do.
Mm-hmm.
But, and this is what trips me up, if the cost of suppression is that severe, if it literally makes us sick and anxious, why do we actively avoid doing the work we're meant to do?
Right. It seems completely irrational to choose suffering over creation.
It really does. I mean, why not just do the work?
Well, it appears irrational until you examine the highly sophisticated coping mechanisms we develop to avoid failure. Confucius actually diagnosed this human tendency with incredible economy when he said, "The man who chases two rabbits catches neither."
Ah, the second rabbit. We pour ourselves into what Pressfield calls shadow careers.
Yes, the decoy.
And think about a scenario you, meaning the listener, have probably experienced. You sit down at your desk because you have a truly difficult, highly vulnerable proposal to write.
Right.
That is the first rabbit. It is the thing that actually matters.
The scary thing.
Right. But instead of writing, you spend 8 hours perfectly organizing your desk.
You buy new folders.
Exactly. You color code your emails, you categorize your digital files, and you feel incredibly productive. But it is entirely a decoy. You are working yourself to the bone simply to avoid the vulnerability of actually doing the real work.
And that desk organizing marathon, it gives you a false sense of achievement. Psychiatrist Anna Lemke explains how this works on a neurological level.
Oh, the dopamine piece.
Exactly. When you perfectly color code those emails, you trigger a microdose of dopamine. Your brain actually rewards you for completing a task, which reinforces the avoidance behavior.
So you feel like you're winning, even though you're completely running away.
Right. You get the biochemical reward of working without taking any of the emotional risks of creating. And to break that deeply ingrained neurological cycle, Lemke argues for the practice of radical honesty.
Radical honesty. What does that look like?
It's a daily discipline where you wake up and declare, today I will not lie.
But wait, I'm not lying to my boss or my spouse when I organize my desk. I mean, I am doing real work, technically.
Sure, technically. But the most consequential lies, and honestly the most difficult to detect, are the ones we tell ourselves.
Oh, I see.
We tell ourselves that the shadow career is just a temporary stepping stone. We claim we will finally tackle the real work when conditions are absolutely flawless.
Right, like, I'll read the book when the kids are older.
Or when the mortgage is paid off, or when the economy improves, when we magically acquire 3 extra hours in the day.
Which never happens.
Never. The 17th century playwright Ben Jonson captured this self-deception perfectly when he wrote, "Language most shows a man. Speak that I may see thee."
So our words give us away.
Exactly. Our internal monologue betrays our true intentions. When you say, "I will start on Monday," your actual intention is avoidance. You are prioritizing the psychological comfort of the second rabbit.
Which ties beautifully into Thomas Merton's idea. He wrote, "Pride makes us artificial. Humility makes us real." And looking at this through the lens of those shadow careers, I feel like the pride keeping us from our work isn't an arrogant, chest-thumping pride.
No, it's not ego in that sense.
But is it actually just a fragile ego, like a quiet, terrified pride that would rather safely do the wrong thing perfectly, like color-coding those emails, than attempt the right thing and risk failing publicly?
That is exactly it. That fragile ego simply cannot withstand an honest audit of where you are versus where you claim to be going. And the Stoic philosopher Epictetus pointed out that not every difficult thing qualifies as noble training. If you are sweating and suffering over something that does not lead toward your true goal, you aren't being disciplined.
You're just busy.
You're just wearing yourself out in service of avoidance. Just because you collapse into bed exhausted doesn't mean you chase the right rabbit.
Okay, but if we drop our shadow careers and we stop exhausting ourselves with busy work to focus intensely on the present moment, doesn't that look a lot like laziness to the outside world?
You definitely can't, yeah.
Because here's where it gets really interesting. Take Marcel Proust, for example.
Oh, Proust is the perfect example for this.
Right. According to the sources, to an outside observer, Proust looked like the ultimate slacker. He supposedly slept all day, went to high society parties, read books, and took leisurely walks.
Just kind of drifting around Paris.
Yeah. So how on earth does someone who basically just goes to parties and takes strolls become a legendary master of their craft? A master of human psychology and literature?
Well, on the surface, it seems like a massive contradiction. But the author Robert Greene resolves this by exploring the profound psychological mechanics operating underneath Proust's seemingly passive exterior.
Okay, what was he actually doing?
Proust possessed an absolute intensity of attention. He wasn't just skimming books to pass the time. He was mentally dismantling them to understand their architectural structure.
Wow.
And at those high society parties, he wasn't making idle small talk. He was straining to decode people's core motivations, observing their micro-expressions, and analyzing the massive gap between what they said and what they actually meant.
So he was basically using those social gatherings as a psychological laboratory.
Precisely.
He went so deep into observing human behavior that his insights about how memory is triggered by sensory details, like its famous passage about the taste of a Madeleine cookie, they actually foreshadowed modern neuroscience.
He was way ahead of his time. He even used the devastating grief of his mother's death as raw material. He turned his intense attention inward to map the complex landscape of human sorrow. Greene concludes that it is not the variety or the sheer volume of your experiences that bears fruit. It's the intensity of your attention to them.
So presence isn't about emptying your mind or just relaxing on a beach. It's about fully occupying your current reality.
Right. And if we connect this back to Marcus Aurelius and that quote on your coffee mug, the present moment is the only biological location where this intensity of attention is possible.
Because you can't pay attention to yesterday.
Exactly. You cannot intensely observe yesterday. You cannot bring your full analytical concentration to a hypothetical tomorrow. Presence and attention are the exact same mental muscle.
I love that. Presence and attention are the same muscle.
They are. The gift of the present moment is the capacity to be so thoroughly inside your experience that a simple walk, a frustrating conversation, or even profound grief becomes the crucial raw material for your life's actual work.
I can completely see how that intensity of attention leads to brilliant work over time. But think about the visceral anxiety you feel when you finally sit down to do your real work.
Oh, it's terrifying.
It is. When you stop distracting yourself and you face the blank page or you prepare for that terrifying career pivot, your biological instinct literally screams at you to grab your phone, check your email, or just hurry up and get the task over with as fast as possible.
The pressure is immense.
It really is. So how do you handle that anxiety without just bolting back to the safety of a shadow career?
Well, the sources offer a fascinating counter strategy from the world of high-stakes sports to manage this exact neurological response.
Okay, sports wisdom. Let's hear it.
Think about when an elite athlete faces a game-deciding shot or like a crucial golf putt. The biological urge is to rush, right? To escape the uncomfortable pressure of the moment.
Just hit the ball and get it over with.
Exactly. But the elite strategy is to intentionally slow everything down. Walk to the ball slower. Deliberately reduce your physical pace.
Oh, man. It's like driving in a blinding rainstorm.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, because your panic tells you to speed up so you
Right.
can just get home faster and get out of the storm. But the only way to actually survive is to ease off the gas.
Right. You have to fight the instinct.
You do. The sudden spike of anxiety you feel when you sit down to do your work isn't a signal to slam on the brakes or run away. It's a signal that you are finally on the ice. The shot finally matters.
I love that. And that physical slowing down sends a powerful signal to your nervous system that you are in control of the environment. It allows you to focus entirely on the execution of the present moment rather than fixating on the terrifying ultimate outcome of the project.
You learn to fail forward.
Yes. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, navigating that immense pressure also requires setting radical boundaries against external noise.
Social distraction.
Exactly. The philosopher Leon Brown advises, let other people do what they need to do to make themselves happy. Mind your own business and do what you need to do to make yourself happy.
Which brings us to the motivational speaker Les Brown. He frames this boundary setting as an actual war cry. He states, I refuse to live an unlived life.
It gives you chills.
It does.
Yeah.
Because chasing the second rabbit often happens because we've looked at someone else's life, especially how it's perfectly curated on social media, and we've mistaken their shiny rabbit for our own.
We abandon our unique potential to compete in a race we don't even care about. Constant comparison is a massive suppressor of original work.
It just scatters your focus.
Right. It scatters your intensity of attention across a dozen different lives instead of focusing it on your own.
But let me push back on this for a second.
Sure.
Doesn't telling the listener to basically mind their own business, ignore everyone else's rabbits, and focus with this extreme, unapologetic intensity on their own personal potential, doesn't that make them incredibly selfish?
It sounds like it would, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, does fully engaging with this deep work mean we have to abandon our relationships and just isolate ourselves to achieve our goals?
It is a really crucial concern, but the sources dismantle that assumption completely through the lens of Leo Tolstoy and George Eliot.
Okay, how so?
They argue that deep commitments do not hinder the work. They actually construct the environment necessary for it to thrive. Tolstoy views deep commitments like marriage, specifically echoing the biblical principles in Matthew 19 about two independent people unifying into a single shared entity. He views that as a profound foundational architecture.
So being tied down to someone else or carrying the weight of a family actually creates the freedom to do the deep work.
Yes, George Eliot articulated this as the highest possible form of human support. It's about anchoring each other through the unpredictable chaos of life, supporting one another in massive successes and devastating failures until the last silent minutes of life.
Wow, until the last silent minutes.
Yeah. When you have that kind of unbreakable architecture beneath you, it absorbs the shock of your inevitable failures. Deep relationships and profound obligations are not constraints pulling you away from your potential. They are the solid ground that allows you to take those massive, terrifying leaps into the unknown.
Because you know you won't completely free fall.
Exactly. You have a safety net.
That completely shatters the romanticized trope of the isolated, tortured genius who has to push everyone away to create a masterpiece.
Hmm.
The stability of deep commitment actually feeds the intensity of the work.
It does, and Ryan Holiday provides the final philosophical linchpin to bring this entire concept full circle.
Oh, I love Ryan Holiday.
He's great. He points out the profound paradox of engaging with your life's work. You must pursue your actual purpose with relentless, intense effort, yet simultaneously operate from a deep-seated belief that you already have enough.
So doing the work doesn't come from a place of lack.
Right.
Like it doesn't come from a place of panic or a desperate need to prove your worth to the world.
No, it comes from a state of fullness. Happiness and fulfillment aren't trophies waiting for you at the finish line of the work. They ensue from the virtue and the stillness of being fully engaged in the process of creating.
You're already complete.
Exactly. You are, as ancient philosophy suggests, born wise and born complete. The heavy, terrifying pressure of the unborn work inside you isn't a punishment for being inadequate. It is the natural, healthy expression of a complete human being finally encountering their actual purpose.
That's so powerful. So let's bring it back to you, the listener. What does this all mean for you as you step back into your day? Giving yourself the gift of the present moment isn't about taking a deep breath and just relaxing into passivity.
Not at all.
It is a demanding, urgent call to stop refusing what your life is actually asking of you. It is an invitation to slow down when you hit the black ice, to practice the radical honesty of admitting what shadow careers you are hiding behind.
And we all have them.
We absolutely do. And to bravely do the work that only you can do. Yes, the work will be difficult. You will stumble and you will face resistance. But that does not exempt you from showing up tomorrow and bringing that fierce intensity of attention to the present moment all over again.
It's a daily practice.
It really is. There is a haunting Spanish proverb from our sources today that sums up the stakes perfectly. Al que no se mueve, no le da el aire. The wind does not reach the one who does not move.
That is beautifully said. And I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over today, something that emerges when we weave all these threads together.
Let's hear it.
If the unlived life truly accumulates as this immense physical and psychological pressure, and if intense presence is the only valve we have to safely release it, what if the deep, bone-weary exhaustion you feel at the end of every week isn't from doing too much, but from doing too much of the wrong things?
Oh, wow.
Right. What if true, revitalizing rest can only be found on the other side of radical focus?
That is such a profound shift in perspective. So tomorrow morning, when you pour your coffee and you look down at that faded Marcus Aurelius quote printed on your mug, don't just mindlessly nod at it and pull out your phone. Give yourself the gift. Steer into the skid and go catch a rabbit.
Catch your rabbit. I love that.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.